something is going on with diesel fuel and DEF fluid that might not be entirely visible or very conspicuous, but it could have a very serious effect on trucking and prices and even construction. So what is it? Well, without going into details, let's talk about Union Pacific, which is a railroad company, and Pilot, which is the truck stop network across the country. Basically what happened is Union Pacific Railroad told Pilot, and they also own Flying J, which is the other big truck stop network, to cut back on their deliveries of fuel and DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, by 20 to 30%. The CEO of Pilot said that we were required by Union Pacific to reduce shipments by 26%. And he's testifying at that. And this was the first one. What's worse, the company was told to cut shipments back even more to 50%. It's not just diesel fuel, it's DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. So the question is, why is this happening and what's going to be the result? Well, if you are a railroad company and you're tight on your capacity, you want to cut back so that you can have freight going for other customers. Well, who are you going to cut back on? Well, the trucking industry is kind of a competitor to the railroads. So if you can cut back on something that will also hurt your competitor, wouldn't that be a good first choice? Is that why they're doing it? Who knows? It's all conjecture at this point, speculation. But it does seem kind of fishy that the one thing that the railroad company is cutting back on is diesel fuel and diesel exhaust fluid for trucking companies, which is a competitor. Maybe they're cutting back elsewhere too. But this is what we've heard about. And how much does that cut back? Well, according to the math, a single rail car holds enough DEF, diesel fluid, for 3,000 trucks. And if you do the math on how much that fills up a truck, that's 5 million road miles affected from one carload, one railroad carload. Now, diesel exhaust fluid, as you may or may not know, is required on all 2010 trucks on the road. It helps cut down emissions on these trucks. In fact, in California, you can't even register a 2010 or older truck. So if you have a truck that's 12 years old or newer, and that's pretty old, you have to use DEF. And almost all trucks on the road do this. But if you're a trucker and you're having trouble getting diesel fuel, or the price goes up, or you're not able to get DEF fluid, you can't drive. In fact, most of the trucks from 2010 and newer, if you run out of DEF in your system, the truck won't even start, won't even run. So technically the engine can operate with just diesel fuel, but there's a computer in these trucks that shuts them off if there's no DEF. If you're a trucker, a builder, somebody who relies on diesel fuel, let us know in the comments what you think about this. Have you heard of this before? Have you heard of this embargo on diesel fuel and DEF? Much of the diesel fuel and DEF is shipped by rail. In fact, some parts of the country, there are no pipelines for diesel fuel. Some parts of the Southwest, some parts of even the Pacific Northwest don't have pipelines to get diesel fuel. So the only way that it gets to the truck stops or the fueling stations is by rail to get into the area, and then the tanker trucks pick them up at the terminal and bring them the last mile. DEF, there are no pipelines for DEF. A lot of it's manufactured on site, but that also needs the chemicals in the rail cars. So what is going on with this? What are your thoughts? Is there something nefarious going on? Is it just random? The railroad position on this is that they need more capacity. Well, here's the other thing. If railroads are cutting capacity on diesel fuel and DEF, they're probably cutting it on other items too, which means that you need more trucks on the road. It's a catch-22. If your railroad capacity is at the limit and you can't ship anymore, then more freight will need to go by truck over the road. Those trucks need diesel. It needs DEF. So What's going to happen with all this freight? How is it going to get from A to B? Can't ship it by drones. Even RVers are now starting to talk about having problems getting diesel fuel in some places. Maybe it's all a big push to try to get to electric vehicles, but that's not going very well either. Take a look. This company is a startup that was going to make an EV trucks for commercial use. They're going to run out of money. They're out of business within a month. Electric Last Mile Solutions warned Friday may run out of cash 1 month sooner than they thought because of higher costs. This is going to be a company that makes trucks for commercial use that are electric. EV plug-in trucks. Yeah, they're looking to actively pursue more money, but they haven't filed a 10K, and they haven't filed quarterly 10Qs, and they have to redo or restate their last 2 quarters. So they're toast, allegedly, this company. So how's this freight going to get around? If we think that inflation and supply chain and availability of products is bad now, what's going to happen when 30 to 50% of diesel fuel is not available by rail? Diesel exhaust fluid, which is required to keep these trucks on the road, is not available. And the electric vehicle truck company manufacturers are going out of business. Will this make inflation get better or worse? Will this make supply chain get better or worse? Rhetorical questions. We know the answer. Are you seeing this at all in your business? If you're a builder or contractor, are you seeing any of the effects of this? If you are an operator of a diesel vehicle, what are you seeing at the supply facilities? Flying J, Transamerica, Pilot, even the local diesel station. Put your comments below. Let us know what you're seeing out in the field, across the country. Let us know where you're at. Is places where there's pipelines that might be able to replace this. The Northeast, even the Midwest have some pipelines for diesel, but not DEF. And is this affecting your shipping quotes? And if you're a shipper or a freight receiver, are you seeing higher prices for the shipping component of your materials? And how is that working into your final delivered price, your output price? Are any of these products needed for your manufacturing? Diesel fuel, for example. And is that creating a problem? More importantly, what are other creative thoughts on the reason for this railroad company embargo on shipping of diesel fuel and DEF? Do you think that there's a valid reason for this? Is there some other logical purpose for telling one of your biggest clients that you have to cut back 30 to 50%, basically cut their deliveries in half for a product that is their lifeblood? Ironically, coincidentally, that's also a competitor to you as both a vendor and a competitor. What do you think? Tell us below.